This is CNBC TV 18's India Business Hour, coming to you live from the textile and auto hub of India, Chennai.
Vanakkam from Chennai. We're still inside Chennai as we come to you from the venue of the Young Turks Mentor Conclave. In fact, the Young Turks mentoring session continues as I speak right behind me. But we'll get to all of that action and more in just a bit. What a day it's been to actually bring the Young Turks platform to Chennai as Sundar Pichai, Chennai-born Sundar Pichai, takes over as the CEO of the restructured Google. But all of that and more coming up for you in just a bit. First, the headlines with Nentara.
Malai Vanakkam Shireen, that's good evening in Tamil, and here are the headlines that we're tracking this Tuesday evening.
The issue relating to the External Affairs Minister is merely a pretext. The real reason is they don't want Indian economy to grow.
Amid all the chaos, Finance Minister introduces the constitutional amendment bill to facilitate the rollout of the taxation, but hope runs thin as Congress refuses to play ball in Rajya Sabha. Sources say the AIADMK is still not on board. The government moves to fast-track its divestment plans. A 10% stake sale in Coal India very much on the cards. The government could raise almost 25,000 crore rupees from it. That's the big CNBC TV 18 exclusive. Asset quality concerns continue to haunt State Bank of India. Profits beat estimates in the first quarter, but slippages see a sharp spike sequentially. Stock tax in trade, even as the company assures the rise in slippages is seasonal. Sun Pharma disappoints in the first quarter. Profit plunges 46% sequentially on the back of an exceptional loss of 685 crore rupees. Higher tax expenses and lower other income also hurt. Revenues rise 10%. Margins beat the street view. Bulls are on the back foot. Stocks stumble in trade once again thanks to weak global cues, particularly from China and poor earnings. Nifty breaks below 8,500. Sensex stumbles by 230 points. In a bid to combat growth slowdown and lift exports, China devalues its currency. Yuan is now cheaper by nearly 2%. That's the biggest drop in over 2 decades. Wall Street wobbles in trade. Crude prices tank. The government's coffers continue to ring. Indirect tax collection surge over 39% in July, meeting over 32% of the full-year estimate. The Supreme Court refers the Aadhaar case to a larger constitutional bench, refuses to make it mandatory in an interim order. However, the centre can continue with enrollments. Competition watchdog CCI backtracks on the 420 crore rupee penalty levied on Hyundai, says the order will not be enforced as it was unaware about a Madras High Court judgment granting interim relief to the auto major.
I think we have to have the courage to learn a lesson from the past. I think bank nationalization has failed.
That's a scathing observation from ICICI Bank founder N. Bagul. Calls for more professionalism in PSU banks and immediate measures to stem the bad loan crisis. That's an Inside Chennai special. Also on the show, India's 1.3 lakh wealthiest people together spend nearly 8 lakh crore rupees on charity in FY15. We'll tell you where, what they bought with the rest of their money.
As the head of Google's Android division, he is the brain behind the launch of Google browser Chrome. He is ensuring the flag of Indian talent keeps flying high. Sundar Pichai.
There's a lot of discussion of the number of Indian-born CEOs who now run Microsoft, Adobe, Nokia, now Google.
Great. We were thrilled this morning to hear the news.
He's such an inspiration. I was like, oh my God, when I heard this news.
Gives me goosebumps to think that he probably studied in my class and my bench.
people like him. Not only does he get stuff done, and it's a good product, but people like him. You're not supposed to be able to do that.
My advice to entrepreneurs here would be to think bigger.
Well, from Chennai to California, what a journey it's been for Sundar Pichai as he takes over one of the world's largest technology companies. What's going to be his big challenge and the task at hand? We'll get you a special report on India Business Hour. While Pichai is making headlines, it hasn't been a great day for our markets. The Sensex, the Nifty and the mid-cap index down in the dumps. Let's go across to Dentara for a market check.
Well, Shireen, after yesterday's late sell-off, there was no respite for the bulls today on the Lal Street, and expectedly so. We saw global markets under pressure today. The Lal Street extending the losses thanks to a heady cocktail of those weak global cues as well as poor earnings. Nifty tumbled below that crucial level of 8,500. It lost 60 points in the process. The Sensex, that crashed by about 230 points. More importantly, it's trading below 28,000. Mid-caps, like Shireen was pointing out, fell in tandem with the blue chips. That index in the red by about 100 points. And here's the big reason why. China playing a big global trigger for equity markets, especially in its currency markets. China allowed it to be devalued by almost 2% in a bid to help exporters, which have been hurt by the relentless rise in the Chinese yuan. In what it calls a one-off depreciation, the People's Bank of China has reset the yuan's trading band 1.9% lower against the US dollar. But the devaluation of the yuan is bound to have an impact also on the global commodity prices. That's what Pramerica International Investments told CNBC TV 18 today.
Yuan depreciation or devaluation, as some people call it today, is part of that engineered reaction and response to the slowdown, to ensure that it does not create a financial crisis everywhere else. In terms of the flows, China is a relatively closed market. So even though there is a slowdown happening in China, it does impact commodity producers in some sectors of the world. But in terms of impact on financial flows, it has less of an impact.
And commodities, particularly crude, have been under pressure today. We'll get to that in just a bit. The depreciation in the yuan meant the US dollar, meanwhile, got stronger, hitting other global currencies hard. Indian currency being no exception. It lost more than 30 paise in trade, taking it above that 64 level against the dollar. It's end of the day, finally at 64.19. But Shireen, the government has a big plan as far as disinvestment program goes.
Well, that's the big CNBC TV 18 exclusive tonight. What we are given to understand is that the government may move the cabinet and get an approval for an additional 10% stake sale in Coal India. Sapna is standing by with that story. Sapna, Coal India to the rescue once again. And let's just take a look at what's happened as far as the Coal India stock is concerned. It has touched record highs, but over the past week or 10 days, in fact, this entire month, we have seen a little bit of correction coming in. The stock is now down for the month about 6%, if my memory serves me right. But of course, the fundamental picture for Coal India has improved with production coming in at lifetime highs. So, Sapna, Coal India to the rescue once again to fill the disinvestment coffers?
Well, quite likely, that's what the game plan is as of now. But, you know, the government is not really indicating a clear timeline because such proposals initially do not carry a timeline. You know, once the cabinet not comes through, or rather at the time of the cabinet not, you know, there is a better indication about the sense of timing and stuff like that. This is part of the overall 3-year plan on disinvestment that the government has chalked out. It was already in discussion even during the last financial year. We have seen some progress in the current financial year, and another tranche of 10% stake sale in Coal India is now part of the larger game plan. So just a small caveat here in terms of timing, we really don't know what they're looking at. But it could be quite possible that the current financial year, the remaining 6 months at least the next 3 to 4 months, active 3 to 4 months are there. So, you know, government is bound to take some kind of decision on that. It's a draft cabinet note that they're circulating as of now, and the cabinet approval will be probably coming in the next couple of weeks. In terms of the current market price, or, you know, rather the current valuation, so to speak, of course, it's dynamic. They could easily garner over 25,000 odd crores. Depends as to how that really also pans out, because of course there'll be a discount for the institutional investors and also of course 5% for the retail investors. investors. Having said that, they're also trying to indicate that overall the disinvestment program, they're trying to fast-track it because the government is under a bit of pressure in the sense this is the month of August now, and you've already seen 2 stake sales, to be fair enough, REC and PFC. But those stake sales, the approvals had already come in the last financial year, and the roadshows had also been done during the last financial year. So you can say in a way that it was being carried over into the current fiscal.
Right.
So, you have this one big important proposal of 10% coming up, but also in terms of the basket 1 and basket 2 stocks, at least 8 to 12 big stocks over there. Merchant bankers, lawyers, all of that may be in place sometime by next week. In fact, the merchant bankers for IOCL stake sale, for example, the meeting on that is happening tomorrow, that is August 12th.
And you'll have the IOC results also coming out on the 13th. We have been saying IOC trading near a 52-week high. The stake sale should happen in that soon. But the big news, of course, being the government once again looking at Coal India could raise almost 20 to 25,000 crore rupees by selling 10% of the company. Thanks, Sapna, for joining us with that exclusive story. Well, it's day 15 of the monsoon session and there was no let-up in protest by the Congress party. But today, a defiant government decided to push ahead with the GST bill. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley tabled the constitutional amendment bill to facilitate the rollout of that landmark taxation. He was drowned out in the Rajya Sabha by sloganeering by the Congress party MPs. They rushed to the well of the House. They threw papers at the Speaker, but the Finance Minister refused to yield and went on to introduce the bill. However, the House was adjourned soon thereafter by the Speaker, who decided that something as important as a constitutional amendment bill cannot be discussed amid the ruckus. The big question is the Congress has a strong presence in the Rajya Sabha with 68 MPs. BJP has only 48. Will this bill go through in this session?
The issue relating to the External Affairs Minister is merely a pretext. The real reason is they don't want Indian economy to grow, and that is why section after section they have been looking for one pretext or the other to make sure that the GST legislation, which will give a boost to India's GDP and economy, is not passed.
The opposition is on a principled issue that this Parliament of India has a duty to perform when it comes to executive accountability. Now, they should not try to distract and create a false propaganda to mislead the people of this country. Let me make it clear, we are the authors of the GST bill. We are not opposed to GST, but there are issues which need to be addressed first.
Well, that's the action in Parliament, but what will the fate of the Goods and Services Tax Bill be? Is it likely to go through? Is it stalemate? Let's go across to Ritu Parnabhayan. He's been doing the arithmetic for us on how the Rajya Sabha math works out. Ritu, take us through the likely scenarios that we could see.
A constitutional amendment bill needs two kinds of conditions to be fulfilled, and that basically means that it needs a special majority, which is basically 50% of the total strength of Rajya Sabha needs to vote for the bill, and also the bill needs 2/3 majority supporting the bill. Now, as far as the 50% members condition is concerned, that comes to around 122 votes for the bill. 3 scenarios can happen tomorrow. Firstly, scenario 1 is when Congress left and the AIADMK, they vote against the bill. In such a case, the votes against the bill will be 89, but the votes for the bill will be 155. But remember that this number of 155 is less than the magic number of 163, which is the 2/3 majority condition which is required. And as a result, the bill will fall through. That is scenario 1. Scenario 2 is when Congress and left vote against the bill, but AIADMK with 11 members walk out. And in this scenario, we take out the number 11. We take out 11 MPs from the total and present strength of the House. In such a case, we see that the votes against the bill comes to around 78. The votes for the bill comes to around 155. Now, this number of 155 equals the magic number of 155, which is the 2/3 majority condition as far as this scenario is concerned, because remember that we have taken out AIADMK. As a result, the bill goes through, but it is a borderline case. The third scenario is when both Congress and AIADMK, they walk out and only the left votes against the bill, and in such a case, votes against the bill is just 10 and the votes for the bill is 155. In this case, again, 155 is more than the minimum requirement of 122 votes, and of course it fulfills the 2/3 majority condition, and as a result, the bill sails through. whatever happens tomorrow clearly will happen around these three scenarios only. But remember that the basic condition that is required for a constitutional amendment bill to be taken up is that there has to be order in the House, and we'll have to wait and see if House, that is the Rajya Sabha, functions tomorrow to let the members discuss this legislation. With that, it's back to you.
And that is the question that I put to a special panel from the Congress Party spokesperson Tom Vadakan, from the BJP Krishna Agarwal, the spokesperson on economic matters, and a member of the GST parliamentary panel Rajiv Chandrasekhar, also independent MP of the Rajya Sabha. And I put exactly that question to Tom Vadakan, that will the Congress allow the Goods and Services Tax Bill to go through in this session of Parliament or not? Listen in.
Mr. Arun Jaitley, 3 speeches he made in public domain, which was repeated, one in Parliament, one outside. He said that Congress is in self-destruct mode, the words he used. This is the same gentleman, the high priest of reforms, who stopped it single-handedly with assistance from Sushma ji. 2011, the date he admitted, single-handedly stopped. We are not doing a tit for tat. We had presented a bill which could have been cleared. We have objected in the subcommittee to 6-7 points. We have talked about putting it at 18% on GST. We have talked about a tribunal. We have talked about that 1%. Nothing has been attended. They are on the high horse of arrogance of power. They do not want a dialogue. There could be backroom talks, nothing. They are only on one position.
Tom Vadakan, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you. You make a valid point that the BJP also stalled reforms, whether it was the insurance bill or it was the goods and services tax bill. Mr. Chidambaram is on record several times over saying that his fervent pleas, I'm using his words, were thrown out of the window by Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj. But that's the past, sir. Let's talk about the future. You had a standing committee. The standing committee has given its recommendations. The unanimous view in the standing committee did not agree with the Congress Party's position, and hence, is it not time for the country to move on and move further or forward with the goods and services tax bill? The select panel did not agree with your recommendations and your demands.
There is always a give and take in any system. When you talk about development, it's not a one-way traffic. Congress is as much interested in the development of this country. We have made 6-7 points. It has been done after study of the economy, sociologists, and various other stakeholders have been spoken to. We are from experience given 7 points, which they have not agreed on. Now there could be, the Prime Minister could intervene. There could be a dialogue beyond that. If they could, on land acquisition bill, if they could take a U-turn.
Let me ask you a simple question. You mentioned land acquisition and you talked about political give and take. On the land acquisition, it pretty much seems to be that the government is accepting the 2013 version of the land law, which is the current land law if you do away with the ordinance. It seems to be that the government has backtracked on its position on land. Is this not enough give and take for you?
This is not about Congress Party's win or loss. This is about the nation. When they have accepted it, they could have put it on vote yesterday. But on the contrary, they pushed it to the next parliament session. Why? Because there is an election coming up in Bihar. They don't want to show that they've lost on an issue. If political considerations come like this, then the nation suffers. This is not about the Congress Party. This is about India. And I think parties must go beyond that. Nationalism first. Parties will come and will go.
That is the accusation being made against the Congress Party, Mr. Vadakan, that the Congress Party needs to rise above party politics and look at things from a country perspective. But you said that attempts have not been made to try and reach out to Congress Party leaders. That's something that I heard from very senior Congress Party leaders this morning as well, that there's been no attempt to engage with them, no attempt for discussion. If there was an attempt made overnight, for instance, to reach out to the Congress Party, what will it take now for you to vote on this bill, sir? If if it were to see the light of the day in this monsoon session?
I'm not an astrologer, but things can happen in politics. Tomorrow is yet another day. There should be an attempt to communicate.
So you're saying that there
should be a give and take.
There is hope that we may still see the GST bill go through in this session?
I'm personally an optimist. If they get down from the high horse, the arrogance that they are showing, they should step down, talk, dialogue, but it has to be, can be backtracked. But it should happen. If that doesn't happen, there is a problem.
All right, Krishna Agarwal, let me come to you. You've heard what Tom Barikan is saying. He's saying there is an opportunity if the government reaches out to the Congress party leadership, perhaps the goods and services tax bill can be saved in the monsoon session. Is there hope for the GST bill? Are we likely to see the BJP try and reach out to the Congress party over the next 24 hours and ensure the passage?
Today, Mr. Arun Jaitley has clearly pointed out the Congress and Mr. Anand Sharma has said that we are not against GST. If you are not against GST, what is stopping you? You are stopping the parliament, stalling the parliament. You are not allowing it to function. And Sumitra Mahajan, speaker, said that 40 members are taking right of usurping the rights of all other
MPs. That's separate, sir. That matter has been discussed, Mr. Agarwal. Let's talk about what we can expect over the next 24 hours. Is there hope, or do you believe the GST bill is dead for the monsoon session?
We don't have hope. The way today in the parliament Congress behaved, the way they threw paper on the speaker and the way they behave today, all hopes have been lost. If they are on the public platform, they are saying they are ready to debate. Where they will debate? If they are not allowing the debate to happen in the parliament, where they want to debate? The bill has been debated on the select committee, standing committee. Consensus has been built over last several years. On that note only,
Mr. Agarwal, let me ask you this, because people are confused about the political strategy of the government. One was imagining that you had managed to get your floor management in place and the arithmetic in place, and hence the government felt confident about being able to table the bill in the Rajya Sabha today. If you didn't hear from the Congress party, you knew that the Congress party was not on board. Sources say the AIADMK continues to have its opposition to the bill as well. What prompted the government from tabling this bill in Parliament today?
That was the last hope that we wanted to, that we were serious on the issue. The whole country, we want to tell the country that we want the bill. We are ready to discuss. We have to discuss any issue on the parliament. We were hoping that today Congress will cooperate. But the way they behave, and that becomes very difficult. They are not ready to talk. How only two people, when we talk to the people in the Congress, they say we agree on the clauses, and then on the floor and on the street, they are demonstrating. They want...
No, sir, they haven't agreed to the clauses. Mr. Agarwal, they haven't agreed to the bill in its entirety. They have raised several demands which have been ignored by the Standing Committee. But let me bring in Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who is a member of the Standing Committee on the GST. Rajiv, appreciate you joining us as well. You've heard what both the Congress and the BJP are saying, perhaps political posturing on both sides. As an independent MP, it's a sad day, I'm sure, for parliamentarians, for the country as well. Do you believe that the goods and services tax bill will go through at all in this session, or do you believe that it's a full stop for the bill in this session?
No, I mean, Shireen, I will remain hopeful till the last day of this monsoon session that the Congress sees value in supporting this bill, because this is a way too important a bill to be lost in the middle of all the bickering and politics that we are hearing. This is 9 years of consensus building that has brought this bill to this stage. A whole select committee that sat through 2.5 months to bring this bill to this stage. And Congress really has no reason to oppose this bill. I understand that they have some differences with the bill in the way it is, but that can be debated in the parliament, and I'm sure if majority of the members of parliament agree with the Congress's view, those amendments can be forced into the bill. So I'm hopeful, Shireen, but I'm not a betting man, so I wouldn't put any money on this.
You're not a betting man. You wouldn't put any money on this. But Rajiv, let's look at some of the demands that the Congress party has made. And to be fair, they're not entirely unreasonable demands. A lot of those demands the government in private has acknowledged are valid demands. Would it have been perhaps prudent to have at least accepted one or two of those demands to ensure the passage of the bill, placate the Congress, get them on board and ensure the passage of the bill? I mean, you're anyway going for an imperfect GST. Perhaps by taking on board one or two of the Congress party's demands, the government could have ensured the passage of the bill.
No, so I have said this, Shireen, on your program before, that I don't find some of the demands by the Congress or the amendments sought by the Congress unreasonable. But the problem is not the unreasonability of the point. For example, having 18% as the maximum GST rate embedded in the Constitution, I believe, is an inelegant solution to a legitimate concern. There is another way of doing that, to get a government assurance during the debate on the bill. So I don't think the points that they are making are unreasonable, but I oppose them in the Select Committee, because I believe that these can find a better way during a debate rather than embedding and hard coding some of these points into what is essentially an amendment of our Constitution. So I think this could have been much better addressed if this bill was introduced and allowed to be debated. The nation would have seen what the Congress's points are, what the rebuttals to those points were, and then, we would have come to an agreement on what is reasonable and what is unreasonable. But to take a hard stand that it will be... go ahead.
Valid point, Rajiv Chandrasekhar. Tom Badakan, respond to Rajiv Chandrasekhar's argument there. Yes, your demands are valid, but why don't you discuss and debate these issues in Parliament? Maybe get other parties to see your point of view on these issues as well. Why not discuss this in Parliament? And my final question to you, Tom Badakan, will you allow discussion of the GST bill in Parliament tomorrow in the Rajya Sabha? Will the Congress allow that or not?
Let me begin with what Mr. Chandrasekhar said. I agree with him. He should have agreed. I mean, if that was taken care by the parliamentary committee, problems would have been sorted out. But the fact that his heart is at the right place, that he agrees that specifically on the 1% surcharge when goods move out of one state to the other, and the other issue of products going from one unit to another unit for a final product, there are many teething problems which we have addressed. He rightly said it was 9 years of stakeholders and everybody discussed it. This is something which the government, the Prime Minister could take initiative. And yes, now let me tell you something. The whole issue today, the Deputy Leader in Rajya Sabha very categorically said it was not rooted through the Advisory Committee. There are certain principles set in the Rajya Sabha. These may be called technicalities, be what it may. But if Congress, if that discussion takes place in the Advisory Committee, then the government... But here's one government which refuses to get out from the high horse. They believe elections in Bihar are more important than GST
that it
bill.
did not come through the Business Advisory Committee. But let's talk about the next 24 hours. Hope, no hope, full stop. Straightforward question, sir.
I'm an optimist. I'm personally an optimist. And I wish that everybody gets out from their high horses and talk to each other instead of talking against each other.
Including
the
Congress party leadership, Mr. Badakan, including the Congress party leadership. But I'm afraid we're completely out of time here on this discussion. Let's hope that for the sake of the economy, all political parties engage with each other, and perhaps if by some stroke of luck or a miracle we actually see the GST bill go through in this session. Tom Badakan, Krishna Agarwal, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Will we see the passage of the GST bill in the monsoon session of Parliament? Arun Jaitley had told CNBC TV 18 exclusively last week. Other options also live, including a special session. While we still deliberate the fate of the GST bill, what we can tell you is that IT majors are slugging it out to secure the biggest government contract to build the IT for the rollout of the GST. CNBC TV 18 learns it's TCS and Infosys that have emerged as the front runners. Microsoft pulled out of the race as it refused to sign the non-proprietary clause. That's the latest as far as we're picking up for the back end of the rollout of the tax. The GST could still be some distance away, but the government's coffers ringing as tax collections continue to perk up in this financial year. Indirect tax collections in July rose by over 39%, meeting more than 32% of the full-year budget estimate. Excise collections had a bumper month, clocking a growth of nearly 65%. Service tax and customs also saw some healthy growth in the month of July. And the increase in tax collections, of course, very important as it signals the Indian economy is picking up. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks for watching.